All right, let's move on to Iran. The regime is making threats to its neighbors. Reuters reporting that Tehran is eyeing attacks on Gulf state energy infrastructure if U.S. strikes continue.
The threat comes as negotiators push closer to a potential deal brokered by Oman to reopen the vital Strait of Hormuz.
Under the reported draft, the deal would give Tehran oversight of inbound tankers in the strait, but would be barred from placing shipping tolls on commercial ships. The president saying that the U.S. controls the strait.
I think it's going to end pretty soon. I don't think they can go much longer. It's sort of open right now. You know, we have a thing called the blockade headed up by the U.S. Navy, and we control it. And now we control it, but they can always shoot something. They always have something or drop a mine. And if you have one mine sitting out there, you sort of mess things up because people don't want to take their billion-dollar boats and accidentally get hit by a mine. But I think we're doing very well. I'm involved in the negotiation. I think we're doing fine.
For more, let's bring in former Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, thanks for being here. If Iran becomes a recognized stakeholder of what's happening in Hormuz, have we actually given credence to their ability to leverage things, and are we validating that type of behavior?
I can't imagine that we're going to say it's fine for Iran to control the Strait of Hormuz on the mere promise that, well, they're not going to charge anybody tolls. So give us control, but we're not going to charge a toll. Well, if you give them control, they're going to start charging a toll, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually. So I think it's a non-starter. And as the president said, we're winning this war. You know, maybe not in the media, but if you look at the price of oil, for example, about $80 a barrel, doesn't matter if there's a ceasefire or no ceasefire, oil's about there. The United States is now the world's largest exporter of oil, crude oil, refined oil, liquefied natural gas, largely as a result of what's happened in the Iran war. And on the other side of the equation, Marcus, Iran is just a basket case economically. Their currency is collapsing. Their inflation is 100, 200%. They're getting no income in. And while we're having all these negotiations, it's either on or off or on or off. The one thing that's remained is the blockade. Iran is getting no ships in or out of Iran. They're not exporting any oil, and the sanctions remain. So they're bleeding out.
Okay. One aspect of this is the strait, but the other is also nuclear weapons. And there are many out there that look at, how the back and forth has gone between our administration and their regime, their government leaders, the IRGC. There are so many different people on their negotiating side. What would you consider to be a win with respect to a deal on that side? Because they've shown us in the past that they say things and then they don't follow through with them, and enforcement becomes very difficult. There is a school of thought on this that there really is one way only to end all of this.
Yeah, that's regime change. You can't believe anything. If they sign on the dotted line, they're not going to keep to the deal. The IRGC, which doesn't want any deal with anybody under any circumstances, anytime, they'll try to sabotage the deal, as President Trump just said. One missile, one errant strike can take out the deck of a ship, and that'll get everybody really nervous. The end of the day, if this regime is collapsing, as we think it is, objective reality is that they've got to be collapsing. There's no money coming in. They're not paying their military. At some point, somebody in Iran is going to say to the IRGC, enough is enough. We don't want 90 million people to starve, because the next step that the president could do, the military step, and we would have there's nothing holding us back from doing it. We have complete control over the military situation. We could start bombing their infrastructure, their energy infrastructure. We could bomb Iran back to the point where it would take them a generation to recover. The president doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
He wants to cut a deal, but the way you cut a deal is that they can't do anything bad because they don't have the money to do anything bad.
Yeah, well, speaking of money, oil executives are reportedly feeling a lot of jitters after President Trump earlier in the week started making claims that the oil companies are making too much. this comes, as you mentioned, as America exports are also surging.
Yeah.
So I have to really start to worry about that.
Last week, the distillate fuel exports smashed records, KT, of 1.9 million barrels per day. I actually had this conversation with Larry Kudlow, and I said, why does the president say things like this? He's a free markets capitalist. He doesn't mean it. And he said, well, he doesn't mean it, but he says it because he understands what people are feeling, the pain that they're feeling at the pump. Your thoughts?
You know, the bottom line of all of this is that if we had more oil, if we were producing more oil and natural gas, we could export more. Everybody in the world is turning to us. They're turning away from the Middle East because it's an unreliable region to get your energy from. When the president says that, you know, I think it's the idea that he is feeling the same pain. But, you know, oil is stubbornly, whether we're having negotiations or not, oil is around $80 a barrel. That's not a bad place to be compared to where it was when the war started. And gasoline is now around $4 a gallon. Some places it's under $4 a gallon. The minute the oil starts flowing again, that price of gasoline is going to plummet.
In the meantime, we do all we can to drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, I think the only challenge,
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, I think the only challenge, KT, is that we know we want American independence in oil. Does that ultimately translate into American independence financially around oil as well? And obviously, that's the goal. So, KT, thank you.
Thank you.